Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of the Left Wing Film Club. TJ taking that join Project John Politics. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great, TJ. You might want to switch back to the laptop mic because you just started cutting in and out like crazy there. So we're for those who are unaware, TJ is in the middle of a move. So the normal setup is not ready yet. So we're dealing with some ancient technologies here in terms of video production, but hopefully we will be okay. Today we are going to be talking about Sinners. TJ just watched it for the first time. I did my second watch this week. I went and saw it in theaters, and I've got plenty to say about it. Very interested to hear what TJ has to say to that. But TJ, I'm going to call a slight audible before we start. I want to get your thoughts on a few topics because, as the audience knows, TJ and I do not talk about anything outside of this show because we don't want to waste it. Occasionally, we'll send a text, right? But there's a couple things I gotta. About. It's been a little while since because like the Thursday show was very much about a particular set of things. We didn't cover some stuff. So I just want to say you were so right about the Jubilee shit. Like
what did I say? I don't remember.
You were a hardcore against Jubilee.
Yeah.
I was like, I like, I see the toxicity in it. I see it as a pathway for more of this type of content that might be better. No, that shit is evil. The Mehdi Hasan,
awful.
It's like I needed it to be so clearly spelled out for me to realize just how bad it was. But I was sitting there and, no disrespect to Mehdi Hasan, him putting himself through that is amazing for him. But I was kind of just like, bro, why are you doing this to yourself? Like, this is so bad. Just these people don't need to be engaged with.
No. Actually, the most insulting part about this, I made a video on this topic, is that he shook his hand after every discussion. And I guess that's probably like a rule at Jubilee. They say, listen, after you boys get done fighting, you got to shake hands and say good game. Fuck that, man. Well, first off, I don't think anyone should do it. But like the stuff that they said, not just it's bad enough, like having the horrible ideas they have, but like the personal shit they would say to Mehdi Hasan, saying, yeah, I don't believe, like, you're an American naturalized by way of London with Indian parents. No, I don't think you're a real American. I don't buy that. I'm a fascist. I don't believe in autocracy. I think you should get the hell out of my country. You couldn't get me to shake that person's hand. It ain't going to happen, all right? And like the fact that, like, even on a personal level, that these folks are just insulting him to his face, grinning, and then shaking his hand. Get the fuck out of here, man. Yeah, that stuff, that one, I don't know, like, why anyone else would do it after that. It's just platform. I hate to say they were platforming these folks, but even if these folks, whether they believe it or not, is inconsequential. It's just saying, hey, look, this is a part of the Overton window now. Now it's perfectly okay. Did you see that guy in California who's running for governor and put an ad of him standing in front of Auschwitz saying, this is my solution to all of our problems? And they're like, buddy, is this a joke? Nope, not a joke. This is what I think. Like, we're going to see a lot more of this, not a lot less.
Yeah, no, that was the one where it's just like, yeah, this is irredeemable at this point. You don't even see the path to having any sort of discourse if that's the way they're going to be going about it. Like,
agreed.
I would still watch that kind of content if they started moderating who was on it more, but it's just not even interesting. Like, it's not fun to, it's just like watching a train wreck. I don't even like feel good watching him annihilate these people because it doesn't even deserve a response. But yeah, I just want to let you know.
Oh yeah,
I was wrong. You were right. I'm fully on board with your take on that. Second thing I wanted to ask you about, because I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, and I'm pretty sure you're going to agree with me on this.
All right.
So the Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ad campaign. I made a video about, hey guys, this is bait. You calling it Nazi shit, while I agree with all of your critiques, is what the propaganda is. Like, you calling it Nazi shit and then Fox News picking up on that and saying, oh, the leftists think Sydney Sweeney's a Nazi. That's the fucking propaganda, not the ad. And the ad is just creating controversy and getting free impressions and taking it to the bank. Do you agree with that?
Wait, I don't understand. Like, the the ad is not Nazi propaganda, but it's supposed to be. What do you mean?
What I'm saying is, I totally get. Yeah, it's very on the nose with this blonde-haired, blue-eyed Hitler Youth wet dream of Sydney Sweeney talking about her having good genes. And have you heard this critique from?
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah.
So I was like, I get everything you're saying. I don't disagree with it, but us going that hard into it when it's an ad with a pun about genes based on the sex appeal of an attractive celebrity, and that makes us sound crazy when we go into those waters, especially when you have like fucking 14-word tweets coming from the Department of Homeland Security. Do you agree with that, or do you think I'm maybe being a little too harsh?
I don't know if you're incorrect, but I also don't know the proper response to that, because they do this a lot. They do this a lot. Well, by they, I mean white supremacists, where the dog whistles are like bullhorns essentially, but still leave them some plausible deniability. Like, oh, Sydney, no, we're talking about denim jeans. What do you mean? Nazi shit. You sound insane. But I don't see anything wrong with saying it though, because it's true. It's kind of like Robert, maybe it wasn't Robert F. Kennedy. It was some guy saying that, 14 years ago, this happened. Like, I can't believe 1988 was so far away. Like in one tweet, it's like they really forced the 14 and the 88 in there. And people said, okay, we know what you're doing here. It's like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? I don't know what's going on. I don't know if there's a right way to critique that that doesn't elicit that response. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I would just say ignore this one. Like to me, this is just bait. Like with the cats and dogs thing, where like, yeah, Trump is going to take that bait. It's bait. This is bait. Like if everyone had just basically ignored it, no one would be talking about it. It wouldn't fucking matter. And again, that is not me saying don't call out dog whistles and propaganda. I do it all the fucking time. There was just like 18 different examples of dog whistles and propaganda coming from actually the Trump administration instead of a random American Eagle ad. To me, it's a she doth protest too much-esque situation where by calling so much attention to it, and any individual saying this, yeah, it's not a big deal that they're saying it. But the general reaction to it from the left, I just see as it has hurt us more than it has helped us.
I don't know, because it might contradict what I was saying earlier with Jubilee and stuff, that I don't think that, bringing the stuff to the forefront is like treating it. Well, you know what? It doesn't, because Jubilee, the problem is that they treat these two sides as equal value and worthy of discourse. But I don't want to see more ads like this. And I don't know if just letting it slide will create fewer ads or more. I think letting it slide might create more, actually, because, hey, you can get away with it. Why not? Why not keep doing it? I have a hard time predicting the future on this, but I guess I can see both, but I don't have a problem pointing it out, because some people might not catch. Honestly, I bet 9 out of 10 people don't even catch it. I bet they don't.
Well, that's my thing. Like a normal person hearing this is like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's
they probably don't even catch it. And that's like,
this ad would have existed in 2015. Like this ad could have existed at any time. This wasn't like particularly noteworthy to me. It just seems noteworthy because we see it and we're like, that's something to get upset about. But it's just like, do you really? I struggle to give a shit about an American Eagle jeans ad. But hey, I appreciate that. Maybe my senses are maybe off here, because I thought you would agree with me on that one. And if you don't, maybe I'm wrong. Anyway. Let's get started on our main topic tonight, TJ.
Hot dog.
Sinners. So here's what we're going to do. Last time, we just kind of had a conversation about Superman, and I really enjoyed that, but some of the feedback we got is, hey, let's get a little bit more structure into this. So first, we're going to just I want to hear your knee-jerk impressions. Knee-jerk impressions, what you thought of the movie, overall, anything you want to say. And then I have a series of questions for you that are kind of going to shape how we engage with this movie. But first things first time watching the movie, what were your thoughts?
Knee-jerk impression of the film is that I loved it. I was upset I didn't take everyone's advice and watch it months ago. I love horror films. I'm a big fan. Michael B. Jordan, every movie I've seen him in hasn't been great, but I struggle to think of a poor performance that he's ever given. I've all the way back to the days of Chronicle. I don't know if you ever watched Chronicle.
Yep.
I think he did a great job in that, or Fruitvale Station. I think he was in that too. But yeah, I loved the themes and the imagery. The horror aspect wasn't overwhelming. Like, I wouldn't call it like a super scary movie or whatever, but the supernatural elements were done very well. I always like to say that, you know, there's not a lot of black vampire representation. By the way, folks, spoilers in this movie. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah. These are all, I should put it in
the
graphic. Yeah, this is all spoiler discussion. So if you haven't seen the movie, you don't want to get it spoiled, go watch it and just come back to this. But leave
do
us
yourself a
in the
favor.
background. Yeah.
You don't see a lot of black vampires. Every now and then one will appear in a movie. The only black vampire anyone can name is Blade. That's it. So I like seeing that black vampires. Then I realized I haven't seen any Irish vampires either. That was kind of fun to see. And I was all in. The ending, I forgot to think more about the ending because the ending caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting the bookend at the end of the film. So you might have thoughts about that. But when I was putting together my thoughts on this, I completely forgot about the ending. But what about you? What was your
the ending is very important to what the film is saying. But I have a lot of thoughts on the political allegories of the film, which we're definitely going to get into.
Yes,
but
great.
Definitely want to stay focused on kind of, did we enjoy the film? What was good about it? You brought up Michael B. Jordan there. And yeah, that was one of my first questions that I have here. Do you think that his performance was Oscar nomination worthy? Because personally, he carried a lot of that movie for me. Not to say that the movie wasn't good, but basically anytime he was on screen, he was the most entertaining part of the film.
Yeah, I guess I don't know.
That's a compliment to Michael B. Jordan, not a shot at the movie. Like, he just was electrifying.
Agree. I don't really know who should win or be nominated for Oscars and everything like that. I don't think I'm any good at that, whatever. I just know that, listen, there's a lot of films or TV shows, whatever, where an actor plays twins, where they, you know, and the twins interact with each other. Very rarely can I think of an instance when actors have such great chemistry with themselves. That Mike, I actually bought that those two were twins, and that they were. I would forget, like, oh, that's right, it's the same dude. They're not two different people, but him just like being Smoke and Stack. By the way, I didn't know that there were going to be twins in this film. I knew very little about it, actually, so I was kind of surprised.
I didn't know either. Like, as soon as they showed up on screen, like, I went in cold to this film, and I was like, oh shit, he's two people right now.
Yeah, I was thrown off by that. But the fact that he played it off so well with both brothers having their both distinct personalities, both different goals, and that's fine. I think most good actors can do that. But the fact that they got along so well with it, that had to been super difficult to do those both, you know, at different times. Anyway, great job. I can't say enough good about it.
Michael B. Jordan, I first of all, you were spot on there. I can't think of a film where a dual character is performed better. Like, I've been trying to think of it, and I really can't. It's not just that each character is so interesting and well acted on their own, but the chemistry he has with himself is incredible. Like, it is the backbone of the story. The chemistry between these two characters who are played by the same person. And a lot of times in films, it feels like gimmicky. Did not feel gimmicky. You actually really genuinely forget that it's both Michael B. Jordan. Like, you don't, because it's Michael B. Jordan, but like, they are distinct characters. There's no like scene that seems to be shot weird because of it. It just, you would think that they were two different people. Like, you would think that Michael B. Jordan has a twin and he's playing another character in this movie. That's how seamless it is.
Listen. Have you ever seen The Prestige? Okay. John?
Yeah. Oh, yes. I thought that was
okay.
Yes.
Oh, no,
I was reading a comic.
Okay. I'm getting The Prestige conspiracy theory level vibes from this shit right here. That not only did Michael B. Jordan excellently perform these two characters, but like you mentioned, the cinematography and the camera, like, it doesn't look like, I know technology's come a long way or whatever, but it's like, man, like, you can usually see weird shit and like tricks they do whatever. No, it's like, oh, these are actually two different guys that they're doing this at the same time. This isn't done post editing. I'm bringing up, you know, Borden in The Prestige level conspiracy theories about Michael B. Jordan right here, that there's actually two of them. I think that's another spoiler, by the way. Sorry, folks, if you haven't seen The Prestige, like a 20-year-old movie, but yeah, that's
Lindsay Lohan, eat your heart out. That
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a fair comparison. That movie was like what 30 years ago now.
30 years ago, yeah.
Jesus Christ. But no, he does such a good job. The way he the physicality he acts with is something that is really up there with Tom Hardy, like some of the greats that bring the physicality of a character. I mean, all the way back to Creed. Like, I remember watching the first, and by the way, same director, Michael B. Jordan and Brian Coogler are a match made in heaven. But that first trailer for Creed, where it's just him and his back, like getting hyped up, and you're just like, wow, he's acting with his back muscles. That's impressive. But like, that's kind of how he is in this movie. Like the bulk, the way that he moves differently with it's not just the talking, it's not just the face, it's not just the dialogue. He moves differently with each character. It's really impressive to watch.
And speaking of which, you mentioned another fantastic actor, like a really great at his job, Tom Hardy. In that movie he did, Legend, where he played twins, nowhere near as good as this one. And Tom Hardy's amazing. This is not a shot at Tom Hardy, but that just shows you how difficult something like this is. And Michael Jordan did it seemingly effortlessly. I'm sure it wasn't effort. I'm positive it wasn't effortless, but he made it look that way.
Yeah, and I absolutely love. Let's stay on the performances here. Any other performances that you want to shout out that you really either enjoyed or didn't like?
Wow, hard to say one I didn't like. Well, God, I liked the kid, honestly. I don't know who the actor was who played Sammy, but if that was him really singing, that threw me off. I was not expecting his voice to be as deep and powerful as it was from someone who looked like that. And the main vampire, what was his name? Rennick. The main vampire, I thought did a great job too. Let's see.
When he says like, just for like the pure camp of it, when he says Sammy, instant horror line classic. Yes, they did it twice. It was so good. You got to think that it wasn't twice in the script, and then he did it the first time. Like, oh shit, we got to have this again.
Well, let's go. I was watching this film, and one thing that I think that vampire films get wrong, or vampire media in general, is that the point of vampires. Well, one of the points is you're not supposed to want to be a vampire, right? It's a curse. This is something that they hate, the fact that they're vampires. Like, well, a well-written one that's not just, comic about it. But like it is a curse. I was watching that and I was like, you know what? At no point in this movie did I want to be one of the vampires. Actually, until the very end. Until the very end, like there's a scene when Rennick actually kind of flies out of a building. He's got these giant claws. Like, oh, that looked cool. That would be pretty cool to do. That was the first time that it made me think, oh, okay, all right, that seems a little tempting now. But before that, it's like, this seems terrible. This existence seems awful with nothing to do with it. So, yeah, good job in portraying it both ways. So I don't know the guy's name who played Rennick. I don't even know his name.
Jack O'Connell.
Okay, he did a good job.
Did not know that off the top of my head. Looked it up because, like, right now. But we have Brandon in the audience shouting out Del Rey Lindo as Delta Slim. Delta Slim was such there's a lot of just like nice little characters in this, and I feel like Delta Slim probably took him and the big guy. I'm getting his name off the top of my head. But both of them just little character actor bits that just chew up every scene they're in.
Delta Slim, I'd seen that actor before in a lot of things, but when you watch these horror films and you start to think, okay, who's gonna die? But then when Delta Slim said, that don't mean much to an old sinner like me, it's like, okay, that guy's gone. All right, he's actually saying the title of the movie over. It's done for him. Absolutely out of here. So I did like him. Oh, I did appreciate this film. This couldn't have been an accident. Ryan Coogler, by the way, you mentioned him, fantastic. A lot of work he's done. I like that Ryan Coogler in this horror film made sure that it was white people who died first. I thought that was funny. That like flipping that on its head. Absolutely.
I didn't even pick up on that, TJ. I watched it twice. I didn't even realize. But you're so right. That's obviously a joke. I hadn't even considered that.
I appreciated that. I appreciated it.
So any other
Cornbread.
Cornbread's the name.
Yeah, Cornbread. That was his name. Yeah, he was great.
He was excellent. The other thing, I want to point out a couple of these comments. One, Colby says, and I couldn't believe this, would you believe me if I told you Eddie Gathagi was an evil vampire in Twilight?
Goddamn, didn't know that.
That's a good callback to our former Left Wing Film Club episode of Superman, where he plays Mr. Terrific and was awesome. But also a huge ass. What's the first rule of Left Wing Film Club? And the first rule of Left Wing Film Club is you talk about it whenever the fuck you can to whoever will listen, because we need for this to be our new political content creation pathway, because it's a lot more fun than talking about what the fuck Trump is doing. But anyway, so you brought up there vampire movie tropes. And I wanted to talk about, because this movie is a lot of things. Like, for example, thing of vampire movies, Nosferatu. That was a vampire movie. It was a period piece too, but it was just a fucking vampire movie. This movie is a lot of things. This movie is a movie about vampires. It's a movie about the Jim Crow South. It's a movie about modern day race relations. It's a movie about cultural appropriation. It's a movie about black capitalism. It's a movie about so many different things. My question to you is how well it pulls off all of those different things. I think that the mix of them all together, I think that we can agree it's done very, very well. Individually, and let's start with the horror movie here. Do you feel like it works as a horror movie?
I think that the horror element of the film is oddly understated compared to your classic horror film. Like, I still would slot it in the horror film category, but there's so much else involved that, the horror part is maybe like 15 minutes of the entire film. But I would put it seems like it would fit more like in the almost thriller category, almost. But I still would slot it in horror. But as far as a horror film, it's all right in how it pulls that off. But that's not the first thing I think of when I think of this movie. Yeah,
it's definitely not scary. Like, there are a few jump scares that are nice. There's a few tense scenes, but you're right. It's more of a thriller than it, and it really doesn't become a thriller until the second half of the movie. But I don't think any of that plays to its detriment. But yeah, I would agree that the horror movie aspect, if you're going in wanting a horror movie, you're going to be sadly disappointed. That being said, it's one of those movies that lean into the tropes very well. Like, I liked a lot of the small things they did, like you mentioned, where he kind of jumps and levitates down to Sammy at the end of the movie. Just the way they pull that off, it's very campy, horror film-esque, and does look actually creepy. It does give you that creepy feeling. The way his fingers extend at the end of the movie to create the claws, the various shots of him with the blood, like, they make him look very scary. It's just that there's no scenes that are built for tension that are intended to scare you.
Yeah, and it pulls off something very well that horror films should do more. And I wouldn't even slot it like in the definitely scary horror film category, is that you don't want to show the monster too much. This is a mistake that a lot of horror directors seem to make. And the best example of someone doing this properly is, Babadook. I don't know if you ever watched...
Babadook is one of my favorites.
Yeah, and you see the Babadook for maybe like 30 seconds of the entire film. You don't see him that much, but it's better that way. The original Alien is like that too. Original Alien, I think everyone would agree that would count as a horror film. It's a sci-fi horror film. Yeah. You don't see the alien all that much. And if you want there to be some mystery, you want the audience wanting more. And when you show, like when Rennick shows his abilities, you're like, okay, glad I waited for that. That was worth it. He does the levitation thing the first time right before he kills what's her name, Annie. And then he does it again when he comes after Sammy. And that's it. And you'll see the claws, you see the fangs and stuff. But, they did that too, where at the end, when Annie's a vampire and she's talking at the bar, you see her fangs. But, they don't lean into it or whatever. It's great. That's the way to do it.
And I love that first Annie kill, because it's just, if you haven't seen it, you kind of have to see it to understand what I'm saying. But he just levitates for less than a second, like for like half a second, and then instantly cuts. And in what that does is, in your mind, you see the rest of it play out without them needing to film it. The movie goes on, the pace continues, but in your mind, you're thinking it's like that is what I think good horror is built on. It's just that the entire structure of the movie isn't built to scare you. But it does have those nice little moments that do make it a horror movie. As a vampire movie, because a vampire movie doesn't have to be a horror movie. Just like a zombie movie doesn't have to be a horror movie. Vampire movies are their own genre. Where would you place this? Would you say it is successful as a vampire movie? And where would you place it in the hierarchy of vampire films?
I don't know. I would. I like Colby's comment here that vampirism is a vessel to move the narrative. It's not literally about becoming vampires or surviving them. That's how I would put it. I would not call this a vampire movie. I wouldn't. It's a movie that has vampires in it. So yeah, I agree with Colby on that one.
Yeah, no, this is more than anything, and this is gonna come as a surprise. I don't think I've seen anyone else point this out, but it's a Home Alone movie. It is a movie where the entire
Home Alone movie,
the entire movie builds to a long climax sequence of a home defense. Like that, there's a lot of movies that fit this genre, and it's one of my favorite genres of movies because it can exist in all genres. It can exist in a comedy like Home Alone. It can exist in a spy thriller like James Bond. The one with Adele, Skyfall. Nobody is an action movie that has this premise. Like, I love that style of film, and this pulls that off excellently. As an action movie, this film fucking works. Like, this film works straight up as an action movie. A lot of the action cinematography is really good. The whole fight at the end, I was very impressed by, and I think it works well with the themes of vampirism. And I think that those themes also play directly into a lot of the political allegories. What did you take away from the film as what it was trying to say? And it says things about multiple different things, but what were your impressions with what is this film trying to say?
I think the primary thrust of this film is people's connections to their roots and their background. I think that's the number one thing it was trying to convey. And basically from the beginning, the opening scene, I almost said first opening scene, as if there could be more than one, but the opening scene where at the chalk drawings, and it says, I forget what the people are called, but it's, what's the lady? The one that was dating Smoke. I can't remember her name. But she is talking about these people who are born with the ability to use music to cut through the veil of the living and the dead, both in the past, present, and future, and and unite them through music. And I've always said that music is to me, music is the closest thing to magic that actually exists. Music is so good, I can't believe human beings are capable of it. Like, music is so powerful and so useful and so uniting and so divisive. It's just sounds, right? Like, it can mean whatever you want it, but you can communicate a message and a feeling and an emotion to someone who doesn't speak your language, to someone who lived 1,000 years ago. Just through the music, they know what you're feeling. So I got that. And that scene halfway through when Sammy is playing the guitar and all of a sudden people from different timelines are appearing inside. I kind of jumped. I was like, what the fuck? What is happening? What's going on here? And so I think like that, they originally set out with that message is that, you can use the venue of music or the medium of music to combine people and connect them to their ancestors and to their descendants. But then you have the Smokestack twins who came from the Jim Crow South. They fought in World War I. They tried working with the Irish people in Chicago, and they're like, no, we got this, and we need to, set back our roots and connect with our people, which is kind of the divide between Smoke and Stack. That Smoke is more connected to his past. He's dating a black woman. He doesn't want to invite the bluegrass band in or whatever. Stack is dating a white woman, and he's more than happy to chill out with the bluegrass people and everything like that. And then Rennick, who's saying, look, join us. Forget about your past. Fuck it. Like, what's the point? They're never going to accept you in the first place. We will accept you. You'll be monsters, but hey, you'll have a community, you'll have fun. And that clash between the two different points of view, I think that's the whole point of the movie, if you ask me.
So I'm going to get to my takes on the messages because I have some pretty pointed takes on it.
Okay.
and I'm going to get to a lot of what you said there, but I want to stick first with the music, and then I want to jump to the smokestack conflict. The music in this movie, excellent. You did not like the Superman electric guitar. Please tell me you like the electric guitar in this movie.
Loved it. I can't think of any music I didn't like in this movie.
It was so good. Like every time there's music being played, like diegetically on the screen, it is performed so well. As you mentioned, that the actor of Sonny, like his voice really is just like, damn, like that is nailed it. I actually think that one of the biggest faults of the movie is that the older Sonny didn't hold a candle to the younger.
Wasn't as good as the younger one.
Not nearly as good.
No,
like you couldn't get someone. But I wonder if that was like an actual singer sort of person. I don't know. But it was just really, really well done. Every music, the scene that you mentioned where it's this surreal. They're singing the song. You feel the way that these characters must have felt in that moment of just this magical experience. And I think that we've all experienced that with music in some way, shape, or form, where it feels like it takes you to a different place. And if you haven't experienced that, I'm sorry, but a lot of people have. And seeing all of the times connect. And I think that's really cool of a point to make with music, because music, both the feeling of music and the math of music, transcend generations, and you know people sample from the past and things come back around. I just really love the point that it's making about music being a transcending magical power that connects human beings. I have a lot of harsh questions about some of the themes related to the music that we're going to get to, but first, what you talked about with Smoke and Stack there. I actually found, so I'm not even saying I disagree with you, but one thing I would say to what you're saying about Smoke being more connected to his past and his heritage, whereas Stack is not. That being said, Stack is the one that wants to, help out his community by letting them pay with plantation money. Smoke's the one who's like, no, fuck them. We need them to pay real money. What did you think of that conflict there? Because it doesn't seem to align with kind of what you just said. I'm not even saying you're wrong, but what was your take on how both of them approached that, as well as their father?
I don't know where they were going with the plantation money thing. I gotta say, I don't. That's the one that I didn't really. I don't feel like it went anywhere. It went to, because it came up several times that she would take the money and help him out, and then Stack says, okay, we should do it at the the nightclub too, or whatever. He says, no, that's ridiculous. They're not going to be able to, we're not going to be able to spend this money, and it ends. They don't bring it up ever again. Like, that's the only other thing I saw with money is that, like, the vampire had these gold coins, and he gave the gold coins, but he only gave the gold coins to white people. If another, he gave it to the white couple in the shack, and he gave it to, I think her name's Annie. Am I mixing? Is Annie? Whatever. What's her name? Haley Steinfeld. Whatever.
No, I think Annie was the love interest of Smoke.
Okay.
Haley Steinfeld's character was Mary.
Whatever. Mary. Okay, yeah, Mary. So, and he gave the gold coins to Mary. They're the only people he tried paying with the gold coins.
Interesting. I didn't even notice that, but you're totally right. He only gave it to white people.
And that's where the money thing kind of went there. But after that, the monopoly money thing that they were using didn't go anywhere else. So I don't really know what to make about that. What was the second question you asked?
Well, I was talking about the dad and how it relates, but I want to harp on that. So the thing that I noticed, and this is probably because I was watching some FD Signifier around the time that I watched this movie, is the conflict between, and there's that conversation between Smoke and Sonny where they're up in the rafters, and Sonny's saying, I want to go. I want to do what you did. I want to go to Chicago. And Smoke's like, no, don't go to Chicago. Go down to the bayou. That's real black folk. That's where we have our own thing. And to me, one of the things that I still don't have a solid idea of what the movie was saying, but I feel like it's clearly saying something about this, is it seems futile to try and build your own thing with black community because it's going to get crushed by the systems around it. It was from the get-go. This was a failed enterprise. It was always going to fail, taking this money from the two mobs, the two white mobs, who, interestingly enough, both immigrant communities that faced oppression themselves. But they take money from the Irishmen and the Italian mafia, and they come back to build this thing, this juke joint that was never going to fucking work. It was never going to work. The Klansmen were always going to come in and kill them. Financially, it was never a successful business. And I feel like part of the point that it is making there is, hey, within this system of oppression, there's no way to use the tools of capitalism to overtake the oppression of capitalism. And a new system is going to be needed if you're ever going to break free of the chains of white supremacy, as, MLK said, before the FBI killed him. So that, I feel like, is what it's saying with the money. Although I do think it conflicts a little with messaging about music and appropriation. But would you say that tracks?
Well, so yeah, I can see what you're saying there, but like, what message is it trying to send? Because like Sammy, for example, like, it's weird, like, that Sammy's actually the main character in this thing. Like, I went in thinking it would be Smoke or whatever. But
it's weird too, because he is also the first character that pops up in the show. You think, and it's kind of right? At the end, you're like, oh shit, yeah, I guess Sammy was the main character of this movie.
It was before that. I can't remember what time I was thinking this. It was long before the actual end. I was like, okay, wait a minute. This movie actually is revolving around Sammy. It's not like Smoke and Stack are like, the stars here, but it's all about like this guy. And of course, he's the one. And I knew he survived. I think that's when it happened. When the fight broke out, I said, okay, I know Sammy survives. I'm not sure about anybody else here. I'm not confident any of them are getting out of here. Then I kind of realized that. But anyway, because if we look at it through Sammy's eyes, we look at it through Smoke and Stack's eyes and their friends and everything, or Rennick even, and saying, look, give up on this and just assimilate yourself to the culture. Like Rennick mentioned how when Sammy started praying at the end, and Rennick says, oh, I know this. He's like, my ancestors were defeated by Christians and they forced Christianity upon us, but I ended up finding comfort. I wrote that down actually, because like, it's true how it's wild how true that statement is, that I still love a lot of old Christian hymns. Love them. I will. Those will be like warm my heart every time I hear them, even though I'm aware of how awful a lot of it is. But it's true. But anyway, back to Sammy. Sammy is a split. Sammy not so much with like assimilating to white culture. That was never really Sammy's battle. Sammy's battle was with Christianity, which is kind of assimilating white culture anyway, which is what his dad did. And his dad is saying, at the end of the movie, let go of the devil's music, let go of the neck of that guitar, just like embrace this colonial religion. And Sammy rejects it, says, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick to my roots. And he does stick to his roots. Now, I guess he doesn't form, like a black enclave, which isn't what he does. But, he works in society the best way he can while still holding on to his roots. I guess that's the best I can say from that.
Yeah, I guess that all makes sense. Interestingly enough, I feel like what we just said there, and Colby has a similar point here, because he said, I thought the plantation money was a highlight that black communities can't thrive on their own because so much society has worked forever to disenfranchise them. They're getting paid in wood coins. And he also says, Smoke doesn't want white people money, just the presence of white people will steal everything from them, firstly starting with their music. They play Irish shanties, not Southern blues. So there's also this, there's that message about how, like, yeah, the society's so fucked that like they're never going to be able to build their own thing. The systemic oppression is too much for them to do that. Sonny's able to do it because he kind of just goes and does his own thing and exists on his own, but he's kind of all alone at the end of the film. You don't know that he's dying happy. In fact, he's kind of like, I'm good dying. So you really don't know how well his life went. But the music part I found to be a little schizophrenic in its messaging, because I really still can't nail down exactly what it was trying to say. Because have you heard the analysis of it, of how the vampirism represents the way, particularly that the powers that be in society, you want to call it white supremacy, you want to call it capitalism, whatever it might be, takes the art of, in this movie, Black people, but the movie makes a very good point to say oppressed folks throughout generations and cultures and places on the planet, and assimilates it and steals its life and makes it something else. Have you seen that analysis of the film?
Really? That's because I thought it was the opposite, actually. I thought that, well, no, because like with Rennick and the vampirism thing, he was saying, we're going to use this to stay our own sort of people, you know, and we can, I mean, I guess he could say that, you know, they combine, because Rennick was, I don't know, I wouldn't say he's a good guy or anything like that, but, you know, he believed what he was saying. He says, you know, it's useless to try to be your own, be something else entirely, and don't be usurped by the culture in general. Am I misreading that? Well,
so the and I'm talking here, this is not my takeaway of the film. This is a common analysis that I have heard. And I'm kind of, I don't agree with it necessarily, but I'm bringing up this question because this is I feel like this is kind of the mainstream takeaway that a lot of people had, is that Remick represents that cultural assimilation, the promise of the music industry. You know, speaking of one specific thing, since we're talking about music, it can apply to a lot of things. But since we're talking about music specifically, the promises that the music industry will make to a young Black or otherwise oppressed artist that ends up controlling that artist and using that music for its own benefit without giving back to the community from which it came, or even doing right by the artists themselves, and how that vampirism in the movie is very directly correlated with the vampirism of the music industry, or in general, the way that institutionalized art industries suck the soul out of artists.
Oh, so what is your take then, if you don't agree with that? Because I don't know if I do either, but
so that's my thing, is that I feel like that take is in the movie kind of schizophrenic. Like, I agree with that takeaway. I think it's kind of an example of where you bring a pre-existing belief into a movie and it hits enough notes that you're like, that must be what it's about. But especially watching it the second time, I really don't even know what it's trying to say there, because it's clear that it's trying to say something with the music and the vampires wanting the music, but also the vampires made good fucking music. That was one of my problems with it, is that the first song they do, it's a very funny joke. It's you go from this amazing, like we just said, this soul-filled exuberant scene to they're playing this like silly little like white people song, right? And and you see the Black people's reaction. It's very funny. It's played for laughs. But then the rendition of Rocky Road to Dublin that they're like doing in this bonfire, this circling chant, that was pretty cool. Like that was intentionally made cool. And so I was like, they clearly have like musical ability and talent of their own. And it seemed to be kind of, I don't know, at odds with the point that they're trying to steal music. Obviously, it's attracting them, but they're capable of creating art on their own, which made it very mixed messaging to me. I also, Remick's entire philosophy we're totally going to get to, and I just don't want to dig into that part yet. I want to stick this with the message making about music, but we're probably going to move on to that next.
Well, yeah. So the first, I want to say that the silly song they played outside for, you know, the crew when they're standing outside the door, where they sang about how clean I picked poor Robin clean or whatever. Yeah. I loved that song. I loved it, and I loved it. You know, the funny thing is, because I liked the song, I was like, oh, this is kind of catchy. I'm kind of into it. And then Smoke said, this is dog shit. This is terrible. And I was like, really? And then, you know who did like it, though? Stack. Stack loved it. Stack is sitting there smiling. It's like, hey, this is pretty good. And he's like saying, hey, you know, it's like Stack is like, oh, you know what? Maybe we can work with the white people. Like, he's a lot more accepting to the white people and everything. I noticed that. But the music, I think, who said this? Brianna said this, and I agree completely, that Rennick saw Sammy as a chance to reconnect with his own lost culture. And like going back to like in the beginning, that, you know, Sammy is one of these special people. And like Sammy's music was so good, it the vampire made a beeline to him. So, oh, I need him. I need him. Actually, this is a big deal. And I think that's kind of the theme there, at least, as the story wise, outside of, wild themes. But the story is that these individuals have such great ability. It's kind of like, what's the guy's name? Was it Robert Johnson, the guy who sold his soul to the devil to become a good blues player? I don't know if you heard that story.
I'm thinking of Devil Went Down to Georgia here. So
no.
I think I'm thinking of something else.
Different. No, Robert Johnson was a real guy. I guess Charlie Daniels is a real guy too, but that's just the story he made. But Robert Johnson was a real guy who was a good blues player, and the legend is he sold his soul to the devil to become a good blues player back in the day. But anyway, I think it's Robert Johnson. But anyway, I think that Sammy is like such a unique, special person that he wants. It's kind of like how the vampires got so mad when they killed Annie, because Annie had all that knowledge about, voodoo and everything like that. I think that those two individuals are very important to him, but Sammy especially so because of the power music had to cut through generations. I don't know if that's a political statement, but it is true about music.
Yeah, no, so it is true about music, and Bree kind of elaborates on this, which I think in a correct way. She says, but even when their best collective effort, Rocky Road to Dublin, Rennick cannot break through the veil to connect with his ancestors, the way he looks up to the sky as the music fades in hope.
That's good. That's good.
And that's true. And also, he does explicitly say at one point in the film, like, I need the music to bring back the people I miss. Like, he said something like that. And so, yeah, that is a in-universe explanation for why Remick is attracted to this. And it also, like it says in the beginning of the film, like in that drawn sequence where they're like, oh yeah, through generations, there have always been these music makers, and there's always been evil forces that are attracted to them. And it gives those reasonings. I just think that okay, let's get into Remick now. I really can't go any further down this time without going to Remick. And here's my hot take, TJ.
All right.
Remick's right. Remick's right 100%. It's not even one of those things where, oh, it's a sympathetic villain. No, I actually think both personal philosophy-wise and looking at the goddamn text of the film, the world would be a better place if everyone was a vampire. Now, you said you didn't want to be a vampire here, but you're saying what? So I just want to hear your reaction to that, and then I'll explain myself.
No, what do you mean? Like, if everyone had to drink human blood to survive, that'd be a better world? Like, I mean, what are you talking about?
So okay. There is a running issue, a little pet peeve of mine with a lot of films, TV shows in general, where they take a concept of a hive mind and they don't accurately articulate why the hive mind is bad. And they just say, oh, it's bad, but they never actually engage with the argument the hive mind makes for why it's better. And in this situation, the one thing that you can say is negative about the vampires is that they turn people without their consent, which I agree is a bad thing. However, if you're going to say that that's a bad thing, well, fucking the Smokestack Twins do the same goddamn thing. They kill people and take money and steal and do all of the bad things. So does Remick. If you're going to say one is good, one is bad, I think that is at least a wash in terms of morality. And also, the vampire, it's their biological prerogative. Like, they don't choose that. They have to fucking eat. So yeah, you're right. That's bad. But here's the thing. They live forever. And they can choose to join their ancestors whenever the fuck they want. Like, that's the thing that I think that really got fucked up, because as Bree said, he looks to the sky in hope. They clearly can. Like, Annie gets turned into a vampire, and she gets killed, and she gets to the afterlife. And so it's like, so they get to choose how long they live. They get to not be constrained through the oppressive systems that exist. And when I originally watched the film in theaters, I swear to fucking God, at that end scene, I remember Stack saying that was like, I missed the sun on my, it made it, I felt like I remembered him like saying, hey, the rest of my life has sucked after that. But upon rewatching, he doesn't even say, he just says, yeah, that was the best day of my life too. He makes no indication that his life sucks or as bad or as worse. In fact, he's still saying to Sammy, hey, I can turn you. It would be better. And as you mentioned, when Annie dies, they have genuine, human pain of Annie no longer being able to be part of them because they love her. That feels to be out of love. I don't feel like it was out of a cynical want to use her knowledge. It seemed like they genuinely loved her and genuinely wanted her to be with them. It seemed like Stack genuinely loved Smoke, even as a vampire, and genuinely thought what was better for Stack, for Smoke, was to be with them. It seems to me that there's nothing in the film that says, yeah, being a vampire is bad.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Other than the killing and eating people part, like, because I think that's the number one of all the there's only one drawback to being. Well, I guess,
but they don't even like, is it bad? You're giving them immortal life. They can choose, like, they're not dead. Like, it's a small amount of pain. Like, fucking Smoke shoots people throughout the entire movie.
But the question isn't, is being a vampire superior to being a murdering gangster? That's not the question. The question is it good to be a vampire? Like, we don't need to.
I would argue, yes, the world would be a better place in the hive mind. The world sucks. Even Sammy says at the end, I'm done with this world. I'd rather be dead.
All right. So that's not asking, is the world a better place with a hive mind? Because I think it would be. I agree with that. Mm-hmm. But is it a better place with a hive mind? Then again, like, how would the hive mind work if everyone's a vampire? Because then wouldn't you all die because you can't eat anybody?
So that it doesn't really answer. There's no in-movie explanation for why they feed. They seem to be more about turning people, which also, it does seem weird that vampires didn't take over the world. Like, they're so overpowered and able to spread so quickly, and obviously seem to have, at least Remick seems to have this priority to turn as many as possible. And it seems like if he just wasn't a dumbass, he easily could have just conquered the world. And like, Stack could have too, but he's only walking around with again, I forget, Amy? Was it Amy? And the white girl. Mary. And it just seems to me that, like, I don't actually feel like at any point the movie was like, yeah, no, totally, it would be better to be alive. Because this also plays into the religion aspect for me. Because the only reason stated in the movie to, like, not want to be a vampire is you don't get reconnected with your ancestors. Like, that's the only reason. You're dead, which, are you? You can't feel sunlight, which you can't when you die normally anyway. And you don't get to be connected with your ancestors, but you do get to be connected with your ancestors when you're killed as a vampire, as we saw with Amy or Mary. I'm mixing those two up. But it just seems to me like, yeah, the correct answer would just, everyone should turn into a vampire and then just die whenever they want to. I don't know if they need to drink human blood to survive. That's kind of I don't know if they or they need to. I don't know. I was assuming
it doesn't really say. I mean, that's kind of I don't think that's kind of a thing for vampires, though, right? Like, that's just like because, or at least they're drawn to it, at least. Because, like, what at the end when what's his name? The old guy. Can't remember his name. Delta Slim. Whenever he goes, like, he cuts his arm to draw the vampire, the blood's going everywhere. They start going crazy, so they are drawn to.
Yeah, they're drawn to it. They're attracted to it. I just don't know if they need it. Like, we don't need to eat meat. Right, like, we're drawn and attracted to meat, but we don't need to eat.
I think we're giving way too much benefit of the doubt to vampires here. I don't know. I just I think that if I'm going off the assumption that vampires are blood drinking monsters, no, I don't think so. That's not something that appeals to me. Now, if you want to talk about the hive mind being better, I think the world, like, honestly, planet Earth would be a lot better if we were a hive mind, but that's not really an option. Like, hive mind and vampires, once again, I don't know how that would work. Like, we would run out of food. I don't know. But hive mind, I agree with you. I'll win on that, though.
And that's what makes my interpretation of any of the other messages kind of very messy. Because if you just say, yeah, vampire's bad because vampire's bad, I can get behind that. but that isn't actually what it just says vampires bad, and the vampires say vampires good. So like, I don't know why I would assume that the vampires are bad, except for the fact that I'm not one of them, and it just seems to mess up in my mind the every other political allegory of the film, because nothing Remick says is incorrect. In fact, even at the end when he's like, as you mentioned, those words bring me comfort still. It's just like those words were delivered by the bad people. Like, the bad people created this religion, and also clearly the religion is bad in the context of Sammy's relationship with his father, but also the only reason that the vampires are hurting people is because they're cutting themselves away from their ancestors in the afterlife, which is a pro-religion sentiment. And that just all, I don't feel like the movie actually had a coherent message with all of these things mixed together, mainly because I can't see Remick as a bad guy.
You think Rennick's the good guy in this movie?
I don't think there's a good guy or a bad guy per se, but I certainly can't get behind the statement that Remick is morally inferior to Smoke and Stack. Maybe
what about Sammy though? Sammy's
he's pretty pure. He doesn't do anything bad in the movie. And so like,
except when he hits our hero over the head with the guitar. Is that like the bad action that Sammy took?
No, I'm totally okay with Sammy doing that. It's totally, I would do it too, bro. You're trying to eat me. But what I'm like, thematically, it doesn't I don't see any reason to say, yeah, it was better for them all to have died without becoming vampires. Like, it says so. The movie talks so much about these systems of oppression, and to be clear, the true bad guy of the film is the KKK. Like Remick is infinitely morally superior to the guy that sold him the fucking sawmill, and the people that he eats in the beginning. But if you're going to make this movie about these systems of oppression and how they can't break free, like that is a clear, obvious message of the movie. The black people, the oppressed people, whether it was the Irish people, whether it was the black people, wherever you want to go in history in the world, they can't break free of these systems of oppression. They just can't. No matter how much they try and build within themselves, they never can. And yet, you have this option that allows you to break free, clearly presented in the film, and there's really no superior option. Sammy just chooses, no, I'd rather die. I'd rather just let the system be what it is and just join my ancestors and stop fighting and die. And that seems like pussy shit to me. Like, I feel like the correct moral answer here is to become a vampire and kill all of the motherfuckers that are creating the system that is causing all of this oppression. And I have not seen an answer in the movie, upon watching it 2 times now, that indicates that that's a wrong interpretation.
This reminds me of when we did our review of Invincible, and I was arguing that Omni-Man was right with everything he said. That I said, you know what? I dare someone to challenge me and tell me why Earth would be worse under Omni-Man than it is right now. I'd love to hear an argument for that. Yeah. So
I agree with that. They should just become part of the Empire.
Easy fucking choice, if you ask me. Now, it's
kind of the same conflict where it's like, yeah, they rule through conquest. The conquest is the bad part, but it does seem to be beneficial to Earth to surrender to build world.
If you can get over that,
is the bad part. But it does seem to be beneficial to the people who get eaten.
Yeah, we got on this show, we got a Viltrumite propagandist and a vampire propagandist. So I think we're pretty good here. Yeah, I like it.
yeah, and that's see Agolf Twitler here. He says the vampires of the film are a metaphor for cultural appropriation, which and again, I get that interpretation. It's just like, if they are, I'm sorry, but the film's very clear that Smoke and Stack are doing it the wrong way. But it's much less clear that the vampires are doing it the wrong way, other than saying vampire bad. I also want to touch on the Smoke Stack conflict, because I feel like that is a much more interesting conflict in the film. I'm not going to say like it's not like a black and white conflict. Right? These two people, they very much love each other and are in agreement on a lot of things, but there are conflicts between them that make the characters interesting and work together. Who would you say is kind of like more right in just everything?
I don't know if there's a more right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's a fair question, but
yeah, I don't think that's a fair question. They said too, like, and the views weren't wildly divergent. It was like, slightly divergent in a lot of ways. And they both wanted success, and they both just saw different paths to achieve it. One was saying, no, we need to work with the community we grew up with. Smoke, who was like the leader brother, he was always protecting Stack. He killed his dad, who had knocked Stack unconscious, and he was more of a like, you could say like Smoke was more of like a visionary or something. He's like, hey, here's an idea that I came up with. This is something that's our own that we can do. And Stack was more of a, hey, look, this is the way it is. Why bother trying to reinvent the wheel? We can get a lot of success by going by the path that's already been made by other people. I mean, it's hard to say who's incorrect in that, but it was a interesting dialogue between the two either way.
It's a very interesting way to put it, because I feel I understand what you're saying in relation to sticking with the community roots versus like doing these other things, but pretty clearly it like Smoke is the one. He's the pragmatist. He's the one without the vision. He's the one who's like, this is the way it's done. I'm a soldier, very pragmatic. We do things this way. We get what we want. Whereas Stack is the dreamer. Stack is the fast talker. Stack is the one that puts on a smile and manipulates people into giving him what he wants. Whereas Smoke's the one that just kind of stonewalls him and rules by might equals right. I don't know. I just found it very interesting. And the thing about killing the father, like, I also found that interesting, where Smoke had the balls to actually kill the father. And even still to this day, Stack is like, he wasn't that bad. He did it out of love.
It wasn't that bad.
And I thought that was very interesting as well. I don't know. The whole scene in the car was fucking excellent. Yeah, shit. What overall, or actually we'll get to our scoring rubric, but any last rapid fire takes that?
Oh God, yes, absolutely. Okay. I'm gonna go through the notes that I wrote down throughout the film. So in the very beginning, this is just something funny that I like to see what happens. Like, Smoke and Stack walk into a town. Oh, actually, it might have been when they were buying the juke joint, and the guy that was selling is like, "Hey, you boys twins?" I love when shit like that happens. You ever been like working on a car? And so, hey man, you're working on your car? I just like, what do you want me to say here? Like, what a ridiculous, I love ridiculous, obvious questions that people go on their way to ask. But that was right in the beginning of the movie. You boys twins? I'm like, yep, I know that kind of person. And then I wrote down that twins kind of creep me out. Not going to lie. I don't know about you, but I always found twins a little bit creepy. Like, biological twins are something that identical twins, I don't think they should exist. It's like a defiance of God and nature. I just don't like it. And then when I've always felt that way, even as a kid.
DJ's about the eugenics biological twins.
Listen, I'm just saying we are departing biology and going to a spiritual realm here when you have an actual clone. Folks, you don't know how this works. That's what twins are. Like, there's an egg and it splits right in the beginning. One is a clone of the other. You don't know which one it is. Doesn't matter. They're both in defiance of God and nature. That's how I see it. Don't get me started on triplets. And then I wrote down Asian people with Southern accents bring out the indelible stamp of my racist origins. It throws me off. It's like, oh, that shouldn't happen. I don't like that.
It's especially like in that movie, it feels like they almost have to be immigrants, just timeline wise, and it's like, nope, they are just as Southern as the rest of the people there. Which I actually, so
it has to have happened. It's happened, right? So it's
yeah, no,
see,
yeah,
you know,
it is weird to see. So let's talk about that for a second, because
sure.
I also found that to be not very well thought through in the context of these different oppressed communities in the film, because you have maybe the reason I'm defending Remick is because of my own fucking Irish heritage, but like
figures
the Irish are a people who, and it brings up a movie, very oppressed throughout fucking history. very fucking oppressed by the English, and he chooses to assimilate into the culture instead of sticking with his roots. Whatever, you can say what you will about that. The fact that they have the Chinese couple being the one that does it all in, I thought was very interesting and not thought through. Because it seems to be that has to be a statement, but I can't have a good faith interpretation of that statement, which isn't, I don't know, a little racist. Do you know what I'm saying here?
No, what are you saying?
So I'm saying that the black folks should basically treat like the black folk in that movie and the Chinese folk like they are kin in the movie throughout the entire thing, and it makes sense. They suffer from the same fucking systems of oppression. The fucking Chinese people's ancestors were probably brought over the same fucking way, you know. And then the person who fucks it all up, because you have that in every movie, and it's usually the black person. It's usually the black person. And when it's the black person, we criticize the movie for that. But they made it the one fucking Asian person.
The one Asian
and I find it odd that they didn't think that one through as to how because clearly you're right. I didn't pick up on the fact they killed the white people first as a statement. Very funny. But having that moment, I don't know. It just felt a little they didn't think it through to me. I'm not even being harshly critical. I'm just saying it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't feel like this was thought all the way through. I don't feel like there is, a hidden deeper message here. It just feels like, that served the plot of the film, that let them in the building. It's a fun scene, but it's like, I don't feel like there's anything deeper there. And there's a problem with that.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I do remember thinking that too. It's like, damn, wow, lady, what are you doing? But then again, maybe it was just, at that point, maybe they wanted it. Who knows? But I wanted to bring up something real quick where you talked about the Chinese immigrants and everything in the film and how they're portrayed. Oh, what I thought you were going to say with the inconsistency was there were 3 Chinese characters in this film, a dad, a mom, and a daughter. Mm-hmm. Only the dad had a Southern accent, which I found very odd, right? The daughter didn't have one. The daughter that he talked to at the... Huh?
They all had Southern accents. The daughter had a very pronounced Southern accent.
Oh, really? Okay, my memory's wrong then. Okay, I thought that the other 2 had like accents that maybe
the wife definitely had less of a draw, but in certain scenes it came out.
Okay, all right, cool. So what that reminded me of was you folks, we're going to talk a little bit of politics history here. You guys may be familiar with a man named Frederick Douglass from the 1800s, who was a former slave who escaped and was a big proponent of the rights of African Americans in the late 19th century, stalwart figure in American history. He wrote it was a pamphlet. It wasn't a book, but it was like a short little, like a long article, and it was called Composite Nation. And in this article, he is arguing for multiculturalism in the United States. He says that, all these laws limiting Chinese immigration is fucked up. It is wrong that that the American government is treating people this way. And that I think we should, expand our immigration from not only Asian countries, but from Latin American countries as well. And he goes on to say that, we have a lot of influence from British Americans, from German Americans, like all down the line, saying that I have no ill will towards white people as a race. I think that, they have done a lot of good things, and that, we can all band together in a big multicultural, tapestry. Incredible forward-thinking shit for anybody, honestly, coming from the late 1800s. And after he goes through this entire thing, talk about how great Chinese Americans are, Latin Americans are, British Americans are, German, he gets to French people. And I want to pull out what he said about French people right here. And he says, right here, so it's like Germans, that though remarkable for patient and laborious thought, the true German is a joyous child of freedom, fond of many sports, a lover of music, and a happy man generally. Though he never forgets he's German, he never fails to remember he's also an American. A Frenchman, however, comes here to make money. And that is about all that needs to be said about him. He is only a Frenchman. He neither learns our language nor loves our country. His hand is in our pocket and his eye is on Paris. He gets what he wants, and like a sensible Frenchman, returns to France to spend it. That is it. That is the extent of everything he says. Amen, brother. Frederick Douglass showing those frogs what's up, telling them, that they are and that's it. He doesn't mention Frenchmen any other time. And that is a hilarious paragraph to me, because after going through all the other ethnic groups and saying how great they are, he's like, Frenchmen, fuck those guys, man. I don't know what the beef Frederick Douglass had with Frenchmen back then, but it must have been powerful for him to exclude them as the only group that he wanted nothing to do with.
I don't think that this makes me a good person, but there is something so endearing about a very morally good, upstanding person who's just a fucking hater of something. Like Frederick Douglass, I think we can all agree. Really good, upstanding individual, racist as fuck against French people, and that makes me like him more. I have nothing against French people personally. Right. It's not like I'm sharing in this animus. That makes me like him more. He's just like, you know what? I can't be perfect. I gotta have someone I hate. The fucking French. And you know what? The French don't get enough shit. The French do not get enough shit. They are just as bad as the English. Maybe even worse. The English get their shit. The Germans obviously get their shit for that whole time period. Well-deserved. The Spanish get their shit for the conquistadors and shit. The French fucked up Africa just as much as the English did, if not worse. And at least here, they don't get any flack for it.
Yeah, half of Africa speaks French as their first language. Haiti, the atrocities the French committed in Haiti, not known nearly well enough. I don't think the French get enough shit. The Portuguese don't get enough shit. The Japanese don't get enough shit. Those three get away.
The Japanese don't get enough shit.
My God.
The Japanese not getting enough shit is one of the craziest things, considering they directly went to war with us in tandem with the Nazis, and we just amnesia that. We understand they did that, but it's that was a different Japan.
Do you guys know why we know that the human body is 70% water? Anyone want to guess why we know that? I'll tell you exactly why. It's because Japanese scientists would take prisoners of war and bake them alive and just see how long it took for them first to die of dehydration. And then they would put heaters and fans in there to mummify their bodies and weigh them afterward. And they didn't do it after they died. They did it before they died, where they started dehydrating them, because they wanted to see exactly how long you could go without water, how much water it would take to kill you, and how much water. That's why we know. That's the only reason we know that. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, folks. The Japanese did some horrendous. Once again, don't get nearly enough shit for it. Glad they're cool now, but man, back in the day, with as much shit as we give the Germans for World War II, the Japanese deserve way more.
Yeah, and as much shit as I give America for dropping the bombs on Japan, the Japanese are also incredibly fucking stupid. The amount of just nationalistic jingoism where they're just fuck it, especially after the first bomb, where they're just we're still not going to surrender. Incredible. It's bro, why are you doing this to yourself?
Incredible.
That's how nationalistic they were. It was pretty bad. Anyway, Bree says, just staying on the Chinese couple. Bree says, hot take. Grace saved the entire town from being assimilated. She knew they wouldn't stop, and she chose to sacrifice herself to save her daughter. No, she fucking did not. No, she did not. I will not stand by this take. Just because it happened to work out that way doesn't mean that what that woman did made any fucking sense at all. The clear and obvious answer. You have the most winnable horror movie scenario of all time. All you got to do is stay in a building until the sun comes up and don't say shit, and you get to survive the night. Instead, she says, come in here and kill us all.
Come on in.
And then go kill all the town people, because why the fuck would they have won that fight? The only reason the humans win is because Remick is entirely overconfident in himself, just sitting there in the water, fucking giving a bad guy speech to Sammy moments before the sun comes up. And there's no reason for her to have believed that was going to work. It did, but there's no reason to say that her process there was a worthwhile attempt to save her child. She should have left them all for dead and just stayed in that fucking house. Of course, the whole world ends in that scenario, I guess, but it hasn't ended yet, so you have to assume the vampires are gonna just dissipate at some point. I don't know. But yeah, what do you think of that? Are you in agreement with Brianna, or are you with me?
I agree with you that, what Grace did, maybe she had a death wish. Maybe she thought, there's no way we're living through this. Let's just get it over with. Like, that's probably what happened. But, her soul looking at, just like I planned. Fuck that. No, I don't believe that for a second. I do disagree with you, though, about Rennick being unjustifiably confident. I think he had every reason to be confident in that scenario. If I got one fucking 14-year-old surrounded by 40 vampires, yeah, I'm going to feel pretty confident too. Hey, important question here. Since you watched it twice, at the end of the movie, when Rennick is taunting Sammy with his bad guy speech, I like that. That's pretty good. It's super villain telling the whole plan speech at the end. And Sammy hits him in the head with the guitar. His head is smoking. At any point, do they mention if the guitar is silver or anything like that?
No, I don't think they do. But I don't think they mentioned it before. Which it would have been better if they did. I agree with that.
Because I was confused. I was like, wait, why is it killing him? Is there a silver thing on there? I don't remember them. Okay, so I thought I may have missed it or something.
It does seem a little, because I also thought. Did you also get this impression that when he was saying the what was it? Our Father who art in heaven,
the Lord's Prayer, yeah,
the Lord's Prayer, that the water was going to boil them?
Oh, no, I didn't think about that. No.
Oh, that's what I thought, because his hand was clearly in the water, and he's preacher boy, and he's saying, he seems to be blessing the water. I was very surprised they didn't start burning. I was actually genuine. I thought it must have been a red herring, and then they hit him above the head with the guitar. But you're right. If they had mentioned that the guitar was made of silver before that, it would have been a much more satisfying hit to the head there.
I thought for sure I must have missed something, because I was like, this movie is too good to leave something, or maybe it's maybe guitars back then were commonly had a silver thing in there, and maybe that's why. I don't know, or maybe if someone consecrated the guitar, they prayed over it, or anything. I saw no reason.
He was eating a lot of garlic, just got on the guitar.
Yeah, it's something that would have said why this hurt the vampire, but I don't know.
And Adolf Twitler brings up a point here. Silver versus werewolf, garlic and stakes to the heart versus vampires. I've seen silver hurt vampires.
Silver's for vampires too.
But that is one that does not transcend.
In fact,
vampire.
I don't appreciate Adolf Twitler trying to big dick us on monster lore right here. Silver absolutely affects vampires. Blade, they use silver to kill the vampires. In fact, if you ever wonder why vampires can't see themselves in mirrors, it's because old mirrors use silver, in the reflection process. And so silver is a pure metal, and vampires can't interact with it. That's why they can't see themselves in mirrors. So yeah, silver hurts vampires too. But yeah, I thought that was a weird thing right there. So I'm glad it wasn't just me.
Yeah, it would have been better that way. What are you saying, TJ?
Oh, my rapid fires. I want to make sure I don't run out of these. And I wrote that I appreciated how the film looked. I thought when I first saw the vision, the visuals of the film. Do you ever see the Leonardo DiCaprio Great Gatsby movie? It wasn't quite like that, but it was a hyper realistic.
Yeah, color. The hyper realism.
I like that.
It's the mix of the modern music with the classic music as well. And by classic, I don't mean classical. I mean contemporary in the time period music. They do both of those things, and I hadn't thought about that when watching it, but there's a lot of similarities there. You're right.
Yeah. And then I did laugh at the scene when Mary is approaching Stack and Sammy. And Sammy says, Stack, there's a white woman coming up here. And he says, are you sure she's white? And he says, yeah. And she goes, she starts talking to him. She's just giving the third degree, dressing him down and everything. And then when she leaves, Sammy says, oh, wait, maybe she's not white. I love that. That was a very funny scene. I thought that was hilarious. And then I wrote down, I wish I could remember what scene this was. I think it was the scene when the vampires are playing in front of the crew at the juke joint and asking them to come in, and Smoke's like, nah, I don't think we want you folks hanging out here. And I wrote down the demons called them racist. Oh, it's like that, huh? You're not going to let us in because we're white. That was hilarious. I don't know. That really cracked me up. And then I had the creepy nursery rhyme song. Oh, yeah, we already talked about that. White people being the first to die. We talked about that. Irish vampires. Okay, I think, that's it. Those are my rapid fires right there.
And before we go on to our final conclusions here, I just wanted to address what Bree said about in defense of her statement. She targeted her husband. She did what she could in her emotional state. You're saying you wouldn't react like that if they directly threatened someone you loved. Bullshit. No, let me be very, very, very clear. In this situation where suddenly vampires exist, I'm staying in that house. I'm staying in that house. I know my kid's out there, but there's nothing I can do about it. What the fuck am I gonna? There's 20 vampires that have supernatural, but they can fucking fly. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna hope that they don't fucking find her. Or as they say in the movie, they haven't left yet. They haven't gone yet. Maybe if you watch them go, maybe. But again, what's your fucking plan? What's your plan? It's all over. Stay in the house, live to fight another day. You might be waking up in a zombie apocalypse scenario in the near coming future. Like, just one person is not, it's just not, again, she's in an emotional state, whatever. People make dumb decisions in horror movies. But yeah, I will never forgive her for that. That was a really dumb decision.
I'm so glad that Brianna said this because I thought of this today. I didn't write it down when I was watching the movie, but in preparation for this, I should have written down. But every movie like this, every vampire movie, not every vampire movie, every zombie movie has this scene. And the scene is when someone you love turns into the monster. And the person has this conflict, has this battle of, what do I do? Folks, if I ever find myself in the scenario where someone I love turns into a vampire, I will not fucking hesitate to smoke them. Right then, right there. Like, no second thoughts whatsoever. Because like when Smoke is battling with himself, oh, what do I do? This is my brother. No, he's not. He's a vampire. Kill him. What are you talking about? Like, it would happen. I'd be first in line. I'll kill your relatives too, folks. If you can't do it, I'll happily do it to smoke the monsters off the planet. I'm not letting them infect other people. Yeah, I those scenes always crack me up because, like, yeah, I don't know. If I saw my mom's neck ripped out by a zombie and my mom shows up the next day, yeah, sorry, you're going down. Not my mom. It's not gonna happen.
It's obviously like a weird thing because it can't exist in real life. But I do deep down in my bones, that's not the same fucking person. They're fucking vampire. They're clearly acting very strangely right now. They are clearly not themselves. This is a different person. Although I will say, to loop it all back, they are capable of not killing each other. Like, they're capable of choosing, I'm going to let you live. They have that choice and that ability.
The ending.
And so that's why I say genuinely, they think that being a vampire is better, and that's why they're turning people. So it's the only thing that makes sense. Because they can choose to kill themselves at any point. Why don't they?
So let's go with that on the ending there, because I think that does fuck up the story. I think that it does. Like, because at the end, for those of you wondering, the movie at the end fast forward 60 years to the 90s. And Sammy, who actually, I don't know if you saw the comment there, but someone mentioned that the actor who plays old Sammy is a legendary blues player. Okay,
I thought he might have been. It felt like that. But yeah.
Does he have scars on his face? Well, you know what? Fuck it. I don't know.
I highly doubt that. That would be
a weird coincidence, right? Weird. Like, they had to write the story around his scars. Yeah. That's why he had it. But anyway, so like once again, like, you assume that Stack and Annie died along with the other vampires, right? That's what you didn't see Smoke kill Stack, but I assumed that he died, right? And so I don't know, maybe John was smarter than I am, but I didn't think about that. But
oh no, I didn't think they were alive either. Okay. Yeah.
So then they walk in and it's like, whoa, they lived. And I was like, oh boy, here it is. Now they're coming to get the guy who beat them 60 years ago. And he says, yeah, I promised Smoke I wouldn't kill you, so I don't. They seem like the vampires we saw in the 30s were wild beasts, right? Mm-hmm. They were like, we are gunning for it. We are sharks being drawn to the blood, and we're going to go on a murder spree. And these folks are just hanging out, drinking, having a good time, backslapping, reminiscing about the old days, saying, oh yeah, that was the best night of my life too. It was the last day I saw my brother, the last day I saw the sun. Those are really good times. I was like, wait a minute. These are not the same characters. These are not the same characters we saw 60 years ago. And it does kind of, like what John's saying, isn't wild. Like, if they have the free will to just back off and not indulge in their bloodlust, just hang out and be regular people, okay, then what is the downside? That fucked it up for me. So yeah, I agree. Actually, the book end kind of bothered me in a lot of ways. I wish it wasn't there, at least that aspect of it.
So I think there is an explanation, or at least you have to work for it, but an in-universe explanation for this, because think about it. Remick, he's been alive for hundreds of years. Like hundreds of years, at least since the English came over to Ireland. Like hundreds. And so we saw that he's capable of creating a small army at any given moment that he wants to.
Yeah.
And he has chosen not, because if he had to do that all the time, there would be no humanity left at this point, right? Or either Remick would have already been dead or humanity would have been dead. Statistically, there just isn't enough people for that timeline to scale for hundreds of years, or at least there'd be a known war between them. So I think Remick is hiding the shadows, and then he gets I think it's the music that makes him incensed. I think it's Sammy's music that makes them that monstrous, rabid desire. But even then, like, you see Remick just chewing the scenery. Like when she says, it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, where she says, "Come in, motherfuckers," and he just sits there like,
he's just standing aura farming.
Like, yes. Like he's just sitting there for dramatic. He loves his dramatic effect, which was what makes him such a fun villain. But I do think that they can choose to turn people or not turn people. I really think that the entire reason that was whole spectacular and vicious and stuff was because the music was incensing them. And also they're a bunch of baby vampires, like everyone in that scene except for Remick, baby vampires. Clearly they don't know how to be a vampire yet. And so you can imagine that Stack and Haley Steinfeld, they'd learn how to be vampires and not turn people, and just kind of live their lives and dress like Will Smith.
All right. So listen, I don't like that. I don't like that, because listen, this reminds me of, I do a lot of Star Wars comparisons, because I see Star Wars, like this is my go-to with anything like this, is that so when in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, at the very end of the movie, Obi-Wan Kenobi kills Darth Maul by cutting him in half. And I was so upset when I saw that for the first time. And I was like, I remember seeing the ads for this movie and seeing the commercials and stuff. And anything about Darth Maul, you've never seen this guy before, didn't know his name. It was just a guy with a cool demon face and horns with a double lightsaber. And I said, I don't know anything about this guy, but he is going to be a great Darth Vader replacement, where he'll be a continuous threat through these 3 movies, dead. Not only is he dead in the movie, he didn't say a fucking word the entire time. And I would complain about how poorly that was handled. And people said, well, actually, he didn't die. If you read the books and you look at the expanded lore, it's like, no, fuck you, okay? I should not have to do homework to make your movie make sense, okay? And so if you show the vampires as being rabid monsters and shit, I don't need to connect dots of like, oh, well, maybe decades later they can control. No, if you don't explicitly say it in the film, what is happening here? So yeah, I just and like you said, this is such a good point that it kind of undercuts the message here, that if they can do what they want, if they do have autonomy, if they don't have to kill people, what's the problem then? Well, what's the big deal? And do they need to eat the blood or not? Once again, unanswered questions are fine, but unanswered questions that threaten your premise are not good. And I guess it's kind of minor because the movie is pretty enjoyable anyway. But I don't like it gets tricky with monsters and lore like that, I guess. If you're not, especially if your goal isn't to make a monster movie, it's to make a social commentary movie, I can see how that gets lost.
Shocking that Mr. I don't read books doesn't want to do homework to make the movie make sense.
Fuck that, man. It's not, no. Sir, it's ridiculous. And
I agree.
In Star Wars books too. I'm not doing that.
I agree with you on the Darth Maul thing. The Darth Maul thing, in the context of that movie, those books hadn't existed yet. So you can't say that later they retconned it. No, that doesn't work. I disagree with you in the point of sometimes you have to speculate as to what happened in between scenes. That I feel like you're being a little bit caveman. No. That's fine. Francisco brought up here, did you address the Choctaw chasing Remick? Chasing Remick. Yeah, that's another thing where it's how did he come to be in this? Why are the Native Americans chasing him? There's clearly a thing there with they chose to make the Native Americans chasing him instead of anyone else. Why is that? Again, these themes don't all seem it seems to just not quite stick the landing in the way that truly great political allegory films do. And as you said, very enjoyable movie. I do feel like I don't have an explanation for that and how it ties into Remmick's character and how it ties into the conflict with the Smokestack twins. It just, none of these things seem to fit together into a tangible, cohesive message of this is what the film is trying to say definitively, because they kind of contradict each other.
I would have liked to see more about the Choctaw thing, because like they mentioned Native Americans in the beginning when they talk about how Native American tribes, Irish, ancient people in Ireland and ancient people in West Africa had these words was okay. So I was expecting something. And then it's like the guy shows up. So I've been being chased by Choctaw Indians. It's like, well, there aren't any for miles around, meaning they've been chasing this guy for a while. Like if the folks in there said, yeah, there aren't any anywhere around here, they've been at this for a long time. How do they know about the vampires? Well, I guess, I mean, there's people who know about
it. How did they get him to that state of weakness? I don't know.
Yeah, and why'd they give up so easily? Why
becomes night? They can't fight him anymore. If they hurt him that badly throughout the course of it's weird. Or I guess
what actually, they figure if he's in this house, we'll be fighting 3 vampires, and maybe we're not equipped for that. Like maybe that. I guess
it was again. You're allowed to have unanswered questions. I'm not being a CinemaSins stickler for this doesn't quite make sense. It's more so that these themes don't really connect. It does not seem thought through, not on the plot level. I'm totally fine with Rule of Cool. I love Rule of Cool. But if you're going to make vampirism a key part of your messaging and political allegory of the film, the things surrounding the vampires do have to make sense.
Listen, okay. Francisco said they were chasing him during the day. I cannot stress how weird that is, because when you see Renwick for the first time, he's smoking, right? Yeah. And at the time, I didn't know this was a vampire movie, right? I knew they were monsters.
Oh, you didn't know it was a vampire movie?
No, I knew they were monsters, and I knew that the monsters needed permission to get into your house. But that's not just vampires. That's like a lot of spirits like travel with that. So I thought it might have been, but when you see him running and he's smoking and everything, I was like, oh, what did they do to him to make him smoke? Because the fact that he was running in the day made me think he wasn't a vampire. Because, like, why would he be running in the day as a vampire?
That's a very good point. Yeah.
So the day part, like, I don't know if that was meant to throw people off or whatever, but I did think that was weird. And
because he instantly combusts into, I guess he was staked through the heart when he combusts into flames. So maybe having been so old, he can survive in the sunlight for a sprint or something. Maybe he was hiding in the shade and then they found him and then he had to run away from them and that's why he was burning. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt there.
Yeah, I can live with that. And like what did someone said it right here? Actually maybe no one did say it, but well, you mentioned like he was an old vampire. Like did you ever read Interview with a Vampire or see the movie or something?
Yeah. It's been a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, there are other books afterward. I've actually read several of those books in my younger days. But the Lestat is a vampire, and he mentions that he's such a powerful vampire that when it's sunset, he can still walk out and be fine because he's strong, whatever. So I can buy that an older vampire can survive a little bit in the sun.
That's a common vampire myth. Like the older you are, the more powerful you become. They do that in True Blood. They do that. They do that in a lot of vampire things.
I can work with that.
So anyway. I feel like there was one last thing I wanted to say, but
I wish. Oh, good.
So Brandon says here, I would love a prequel or spinoff focusing on Choctaw vampire hunters. I would totally love that, but the spinoff I want to see is, and I'm not saying they should make this, but if they're gonna do a sequel because it made $1 million, like it should be a completely tonally different movie about Stack being a Blade-esque vampire hunter in the 90s dressed like Will Smith. I would watch the fuck out of
that. I didn't see that coming. I wish that they would have put a button on the Choctaw thing. Because, like, you know how Annie thought the vampires were, hates or whatever? I don't know what the word is.
Hates,
I don't know what. Yeah. And she said, oh, actually, they're vampires. I wish they could have done some exposition there. Like somehow they could have like got that message to her or something, like anything would have to at least put a cap on that story that, hey, they're being chased by these guys and they just disappear from the movie. I thought that was kind of weird too. Yeah.
Brandon's saying it's hate.
Hate. Okay, I don't know the word. Yeah,
I thought the whole time I was watching it was hate. Brandon must have been watching with the captions on, because I heard hate, and that makes sense to me. But
Brianna has a PhD in West African hoodoo, and so she knows all about this shit, backward and forward. Yeah.
Francisco says only if it includes a techno club scene. Of course, it would include a techno club scene. Why would
the blood coming from the sprinklers and everything? Yeah. I mean,
all right, so we are wrapping up here. Final scores. We're going to do it in the same way as we did last time. So few tweaks here. Visuals. I'm changing to audio visual. Just the look and sound and overall feeling of what you are seeing and hearing in the film. That is category 1. Category 2 is the performances. Category 3, the writing. Category 4, politics and themes. Category 5, entertainment value. And then we give it a final score. So first, audio visual. What do you give it?
Oh, I got to give that an A. The visuals were incredible. I wish I'd seen the theater. I may have been able to give a better. I really wish I'd seen the theater, especially for the audio part. But and the music. God damn, the music. You know what? A+ just for the music too, because the visuals are great, but it's hard to get overstate how greatly music is used in this. And music, I don't know, music. You guys don't realize like how powerfully music affects a scene. That there's some good examples of this on YouTube where you can look up clips of Breaking Bad set to sitcom music, and you're like, oh, of course, this is a sitcom, and it's not, and so not just the funny parts too. And so yeah, I got to give it an A+ because the visuals are great and the music was fantastic. And I wish I could have seen like the effects or heard the effects in the theater.
So you said two things there. You said A and A+. Which one are you going with?
I'm going with A. Mm-hmm.
So I landed in the same exact spot of there are movies with more impressive audiovisual experiences, but not many of them. Like that was very good. And you're right. In theaters, it was awesome. Like that was a movie that I'm very glad I went and saw in theaters. I wish I had seen it in IMAX, because something I did not notice until I watched it at home was that they changed the aspect ratio throughout the film. I didn't even fucking notice this.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Watching theater. Wow. So they switched from an IMAX aspect ratio to an ultra wide. And they do the IMAX during the more intense action scenes, and they do the ultra wide during the more chilled character scenes. So if you go back and watch it, you'll notice it. And I thought that, and it was apparently the first movie shot. The technology they used, they shot simultaneously every scene in both. The cameras they used a new sort of camera, I think, that shot both IMAX and on film, on actual film. This is not a digitally shot movie. And like anyone who's confused by that, the old movies, they were all shot on film. Like, if anyone had a film camera growing up, they might be aging ourselves here, TJ, but those existed. This was shot on physical film, but it shot on this special thing where it shot both the wide shot, which is how you usually see normal movies. It was actually ultra wide, and then the IMAX, which is a little bit more of a squarish format. So yeah, go back and watch it. You'll pick up on it right away when they switch if you're looking for it. It was very noticeable, but in the theaters it didn't feel as noticeable, I think, because I was not in an IMAX theater. Anyway, I agree with you, A there. Moving on, performance.
Wow, this might be unfair too, because like Michael B. Jordan's just blows everyone out of the water. It seems like it's hard to like. I feel like it hurts the overall score, oddly enough, because when you have someone performing at that high a level, everyone else, he seems kind of average. And it doesn't seem like maybe an A- then. Maybe an A-.
We are coming to the same conclusion here, because it's Michael B. Jordan elevates the movie, and it's not that there's bad, like
I think it was bad,
a lot of the side, like I very much enjoyed the performances a lot of the side characters gave, but like I wasn't blown away by, like, I enjoyed Delta Slim. It was Michael B. Jordan surrounded by a bunch of decent performances that were well executed, and Michael B. Jordan was
Remick did a great job.
Remick did a great job too. Yeah, like it's an A-, but like even even those two weren't S tier. You know, they don't bring it all. It's not like The Dark Knight where Heath Ledger just utterly changes what you think character can be. That to me, that's like the thing that all other acting performances are compared to in a blockbuster. And definitely below that. So A- is the way to go. Writing.
Wow. Oh no. This one, all right. I'm gonna go B+ for the writing, just because there was a lot that I really enjoyed in it. I found it really entertaining. The themes, like, I feel bad giving it a B+ because there's like 5 layers that they have in this film, and they do converge. It's not like it doesn't make sense. Like, things do add up. And we need to talk about the ending, and the ending does feel sad. Well, the ending and then the bookend, like the actual ending does feel satisfying. The bookend I found kind of weird in a lot of ways. I'll give it a B+ because, like, there were some, like we talked about with the Choctaw, some meandering paths that went nowhere. There were, confusing elements, like you mentioned, like, should we be rooting for the vampires or not, and everything. I did like it. The symbolism was so strong. We didn't even get into a lot of it, but a lot of the symbolism was really powerful. Like, using music as the thing that connected people through their ancestors, I thought was a fantastic idea. But overall, I'm gonna go B+.
Yeah, and I will say that the other thing that I'm going to knock the writing on is the song choices. I just thought they were all right. Like none of the lyrics were incredibly impactful to what was going on. Like, it was just kind of like there, and I was like, you probably could have chose like the Irish songs. I was like, there's like so many Irish songs that go into the themes of the movie that you are specifically talking about here,
right? And
you chose none of them. You chose Rocky Road to Dublin, which is a great, fun Irish folk song, but like, it could have been related. There was plenty to choose from. I think B+. And there's Gracie. The characters of Smoke and Stack, incredibly well written, great quips, very funny movie. Like, lots of really good humorous lines. It's just nothing that really made me sit back and go, damn, that was such a well written scene. Like, great pacing, really good pacing, which is part of the writing, but. You can't put it in the A tier, especially I think we gave Superman a B+ as well, and I don't think it did anything better than Superman did. Politics and themes.
You go first on this one. What do you think?
So I really this is the biggest part I knock the film.
Okay, all right. I didn't want to say it. Okay.
And so it feels wrong to give it a C+ because that feels like a bad grade. And I don't think the politics and themes were bad. I think just it's the thing that I was left most wanting with. And it's the thing most holding the film back from being an A to A+ movie. So I'm going to give it a B-. And I think that's probably where I land with it.
Okay. So I didn't want to say it first. Yeah, that's why I kind of chickened out on that one. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of good political themes in there. A lot of themes on race and cultural appropriation and connection.
The politics of the movie are good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Of the communication of them that I think leaves a lot to be desired.
Even a lot about religion, and like, how you have Christianity, you have folk religion, you have whatever Rennick had before his family was Christian, everything like that.
I have no idea what it's saying about religion. No idea at all. I watched it twice.
Oh, well, I was thinking with religion that, religion is tied to your oppressors, and you should reject that. And like, that's what, like, Sammy rejecting his dad because Christianity didn't come from his culture. It was forced on him. And Rennick was saying it was forced on my people too. I think so. The rejecting religion part, that's how I saw it. But I'll give it a B. I'll go a little higher than a B-. I don't think it was bad, but I think it probably, like, I feel the same way I do about the Choctaw, that I wish they'd have explored it a little bit more to kind of close it up to see like what the thrust of the message is here.
Yeah. So to put it on there. So I agree with you, like, talk about like Christianity, but like the existence of religion is vital to the film. Like, there must be some belief in some religion for this film to work. The afterlife is explicitly stated in the movie. And so that's what it makes it go like, so it's not an anti-religion movie, maybe an anti-Christianity movie, but like, I don't know. It's very weird how it how it's like, oh yeah, the voodoo religion good, Christianity bad.
Yes. Okay.
Why?
Yes.
I don't know.
No, actually, I think that is the message. And now, well, not that the voodoo is good, is that the religion of your people is what you should care more about than the religion that's forced on you. Which I don't.
Which I think is a very bad political theme.
I do too. I do too.
Bad.
But I do too. But I don't have to agree with something to say that. Look, okay, that's the message set across. But it was like, yeah, you shouldn't accept the religion that was forced upon you by the point of a gun. It's okay, all right, I can buy that, but that doesn't mean that, like when Smoke was talking to Annie and she's like, you know, that mojo bag that you've been wearing that kept you safe and everything. It's like, well, why didn't you keep the baby safe? The baby died. The mojo bag didn't help the baby. Did that? Good point. Good point. Yeah. So he
has a good point there. And then he takes the bag off and then he dies. And I'm just like,
and then he's.
Well, I don't understand why he did that. Like, was he trying to die? Was this I'm going out guns blazing? Like, I want to die here? Is that I no longer believe in this voodoo shit after all of this experience that I had?
Okay.
I really I believe there is a message there, and I believe I can dig at a little bit more on like a third viewing, but I am still sitting here kind of confused as to why he did that.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Because once again, I thought a lot of this stuff after I watched it and have a notepad on. I have my phone. I got, that's what an old man thing I do. I don't like writing notes in my phone. I hate it. Like I want to write it on a piece of paper. Like typing it in my notes just feels weird. But anyway, at the end of the movie, when Smoke goes after the Klansman, I got the feeling he wanted to die. Not that because like he could have put himself at a high vantage point. Use the rifles. No, he goes on
explosives. He had a lot of time.
There was no reason
he killed more vampires than he did fucking clans.
Exactly. Yeah, he was in a much more dangerous fight the night before than the one he was the next morning. And it's like he had the element of surprise. He had everything, and still he's firing at these people. He walks out with no cover, no concealment, just starts shooting them down. So, oh yeah, you wonder why he got shot. But I thought, oh, he wants to die. Annie is dead. Stack is dead. All his friends are dead. He just wants to go. And then if I know Stack is alive, I said, well, wait a minute. What? Like, I don't know. It's just like that ruined that for me too. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he killed him. If you're saying he wants to die, that's probably the correct reading of that.
It seemed that
but
way,
that also means he's abandoning his brother.
Yeah,
for reasons that are unknowable. He just wants to give up and join. And that's, to me, it's like, okay, so then why not just fucking kill yourself before? Like you could have joined your kid the whole time. Why didn't you fucking? This seems to be a pro-suicide movie, is what I'm saying. Like the main characters who you want to root for are intentionally dying for reasons that are not very well explained.
I gotta say though, I do have to say, like, if I know that I'm gonna take myself out, and the next morning I have an opportunity to take a dozen Klansmen with me, I'm taking that. I'm doing that. I'm doing that first.
Yeah, exactly. No, I totally agree. That is the way you should do it. I absolutely love when he blows him away at the end. He's like, he forgot about him. All the Klansmen had to do was shut the fuck up, and he survived. He's like, oh, I can pay you, motherfucker. And he just wonderful.
That
scene.
Was hilarious. Yeah, he's like, I got money. Like, shut the fuck up, man. Yeah, that was funny.
Not to give advice to the Klan here, but next time maybe just shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Okay. So, entertainment value.
Oh, A+. I want to watch this again. I will be watching this again. That's a fantastic movie.
I would say
there's a lot of great movies. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to be clear. Like we should have an S tier, and it should be saved for the true fucking like creme de la creme things out there. I don't think it reaches that level, but A+, like this is everything you could want it to be in terms of entertainment value, popcorn blockbuster with intellectualism, with great cinematography, with great performances. You can't really ask for much more.
No, if you don't enjoy this film, please let me know. That way I could never take your advice on anything else again, because like it is overall like an enjoyable experience start to finish. Like, no doubt about that.
Yeah. All right. So final score on the film to review our categories here. We have visuals A, performance A-, writing B+, politics B-, entertainment value A+. Final score for the movie.
Sounds like an A- to me.
Does sound like an A- to me. So A-, Sinners. That is higher than Superman. Are we cool with that?
I'm comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with that.
I think that is also very fair. It's easier to make this movie great than it was Superman. And I think that's
you didn't
that's the
you didn't have
difference in the scoring there.
You didn't have 100 years of baggage to make this movie, right? You didn't have the ghost of Richard Donner and Christopher Reeve looking down on you to make. And Ryan Coogler is up for the job, honestly. I would trust him to make a good Superman movie too. He's great.
Ooh, Ryan Coogler. I mean, he made Black Panther, which not one of my favorite superhero movies. I say that because I think Ryan Coogler could have done a better job. And
damn,
I really like Ryan Coogler. I feel like it's one of his weakest films. And I think that's mostly because of, Disney getting their hands all over it.
All right. Okay.
I was let down with the expectations I had for the movie, and the CGI fight scenes are fucking awful in it, which doesn't help. But anyway, any last thoughts before we end this episode of The Left Wing?
No, I think that was great. I love this shit, man. This is what we've always wanted to do. But we'll get back to the politics next week, we promise. But
yes.
Actually, we had a fuck it. We'll try to think of something for.
We'll think of something. We'll be back next week with our regular Left Wing Q&A and episodes, and we'll be brainstorming what movie we should review next in the Left Wing Film Club. So if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments. And until then, see you next time.
Later, folks. Good times.